This thing over here is what is called French press. And the way it works is that you have over here what we call a plunger. The plunger has over here a mesh, a fine mesh, and the way it works is that you put inside coffee and water, you leave it for a few minutes, and then you plunge the coffee down, and the colored water comes up, and you have yourself a coffee. Let's see how it's done. You take out a scoop of coffee as needed, and you pour the water on top. Now, after waiting enough time, those few minutes, you slowly press the coffee beans down. Once you're pressing it down, you're separating between the coffee beans or the coffee powder and the water that received the taste of the coffee. Now, after this is done, you pour into a cup and you have yourself a brewed coffee. And the question is this allowed to be done on Shabbat? One might say that of course not, because it's borer. You're separating the coffee from the water. By plunging it down, you're separating, everything goes down, and you have now water, although it's colored water, colored with the coffee taste, but these colored water are separated from the beans or from the powder of the coffee, and therefore such a thing which should be asur. We take a look at the halacha in Shulchan Aruch. In Siman Shin Yutet, Seif Tet, and Seif, he says the following. Mashmeret. Mashmeret means that filter on top. Afilu tluya me'erev Shabbat asur liten bashmarim. Even from before Shabbat, it's there, because on Shabbat you're not allowed to put up that kind of filter inside. So therefore, putting up the meshameret from before Shabbat, and you put the shmarim on top of it before Shabbat, that is something that now would be allowed to be used. But you're not allowed to do that on Shabbat itself. Once you have the shmarim on the filter, the question over here in the Shulchan Aruch is that you have the meshameret, this is the filter, and you're putting the coffee beans, or in the case of the Shulchan Aruch, is the meshameret over here, and the shmarim, that's the yeast that's left from the wine, and once the yeast is left, you want to reuse it. How do you reuse it? You put it on top of the meshameret, of the filter, and now on top of this, you spill water like this way, and the water gets the taste of the shmarim, of the yeast, the wine yeast, and you have yourself over here on the bottom, you have what is called now the wine taste of wine, water with taste of wine. This is something that's allowed to be done on Shabbat, as the Shulchan Aruch says over here. אבל אם נתן בשמרים מערב שבת, מותר ליתן עליהם מים כדי שיחזרו צלולים לזוב. You're allowed to pour the water, and it comes down now with the color and taste of the wine. So this is something that could be done on Shabbat, this technique that I just explained. And although it says in the Shulchan Aruch that you can't put the shmarim on Shabbat, that's for a different reason. That's because the shmarim themselves starts dripping, and that you're not allowed to do on Shabbat. It could be a Isur Doraita even doing such a thing. But when we're dealing about coffee beans, if you put it on top and you do such a thing like that, you're not violating anything, because the water comes out, as the Mishnah Berurah explains over here. The water was clear before, and it comes down clear afterwards. רוצה לומר שיהיו השמרים צלולים, והמים יזובו מהם ממקצת המים שנשאר בלוע בו, והטעם, why is this מותר? שאין בנתינת מים משום בורר, why is this not בורר? שהמים שהוא נותן צלולים הם, the water is clear water, nothing wrong with the water, there's nothing to be separated in the water, ואין בהם דבר שצריך לברר מהם. And therefore, you're allowed to pour. Although it gets mixed in on the way with the beans or with the powder, but then when it comes down, it comes out clear, that's mutar. But what about this machine over here? Is this machine the same way? So you could say that when you put the beans inside and you put the water, you have water that's completely clean before you mix it with the beans. And then when you press down, the water comes up afterwards, it's also clear, and you have no problem with that. This is a wrong thing to say. And the reason it's wrong is because when you put the water inside with the coffee, right now it's a mixture. Coffee, and you have over here inside the water. So water is together mixed with the coffee. And therefore, since right now it's not something that you could drink, so you're separating by pressing down, and only the water comes up. And therefore, that is called separating the water from the coffee. And that is something that's asur. This comes out from the explanation of Rav Elyashiv on filters. He says that when you have a filter, the water comes in and gets to the filter, and although the filter itself, once it gets to the filter, it's very dirty in the filter, and it gets to be not something that you can drink, and that process in the interim of having the water clean going through the filter, the reason you're filtering is because you want it even cleaner, but you could do that normally, but what happens is on the process, the filter itself gets it so dirty that now when it's going to go down, it's separating the dirt in the filter from the water. Can you do such a thing? So normally the answer would be yes. If you put it, let's say, in a burrito, that you pour the water and it gets through a filter but right away comes down, that would be the case of the meshameret. That you pour water, it gets the taste, and on the process it goes down. But when you have different filters in the house, that's not necessarily the case. Because over there, says Rav Elyashiv, the filter itself now is sitting with the new water that came in there, and you now close the faucet, and now it's all dirty. When you want to drink that water, you're opening the faucet again, and new water comes in, and that water that was dirty with all the dirt in the filter and the carbon comes down afterwards through the sink into your cup. That is called filtering. That is called separating. That is called borer. Same thing would be over here. Since it's sitting already now inside with the coffee for a few minutes, and now it needs to be separated, such a thing comes out that it should be asur, especially that you're taking and you're doing it with your hands. You're separating with your hands, unlike the meshameret, that all you're doing is pouring water, and the process happens by itself, that it comes down. So in that, the Mishnah Berurah said that would be mutar. But over here, that you manually separating the coffee from the water, that should be davar ha'asur.